Israel's issue is not with Lebanese people or Gazan people, innocent people. Israel, Israel has an issue with terrorists. Unfortunately, these terrorists embrace themselves and use their citizens as human shields. So in order to make sure that Israeli civilians can go home and that Israel is not attacked anymore from the northern border, this was a necessity, and that's why it's happening. Israel has to do everything it can and will do everything it can to make sure that these hostages come home. This is an objective of Israel, and war will not stop until the hostages are safely in their homes.
The killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, has escalated the war between Lebanon and Israel. Do you see any chances of a ceasefire happening any soon? What is your take on the current situation?
Okay, so I want to remind you, first of all, good afternoon. It's great to see you. I want to remind everybody about the beginning of this war and this situation. On the 7th of October, Israel was attacked brutally by Hamas, entering our villages, our towns, killing, raping, and going on a complete horrible rampage in a situation where basically Israel wasn't prepared for, and the civilians suffered very brutal attacks. The next day, on the 8th of October, Hezbollah started attacking from the north. So I think the escalation basically started, and this is an escalation because I want to remind the viewers and yourself that the Israel was attacked from the south, from Gaza, since 2005, basically. Sorry, 2007. Basically, there were rockets being fired into Israel on and off all the time, and Israel, in order to try and maintain peace in the region, was very, very trying to maintain as little possible as conflict as possible. There were some upheavals in 2014 when things got unbearable, but this has been happening since 2007, that we've been being attacked almost on a daily basis by rockets from Gaza. And on this October 7, 2023, was a pogrom that's nobody's seen before, which was then followed by missiles attacks from Lebanon. So that's when I think that's when the escalation started. The killing of Hassan Nasrallah is a measure that Israel is trying to take in order to make sure that attacks on Israel stop. So since October 8th, Israel civilians have been removed from their houses in the north. Okay, they've actually been hundreds of thousands, or not hundreds, tens of thousands of people have been removed from their homes and taken to different locations for almost a year. They can't return home. This is an unbearable situation. So in order to make sure that Israeli civilians can go home and that Israel is not attacked anymore from the northern border, this was a necessity, and that's why it's happening. The escalation, we can de-escalate the situation if Hezbollah is disarmed and if UN Resolution 1701 is implemented. This will allow a peaceful solution where Israelis' borders are safe and Israeli civilians are sleeping safely in their homes, and Lebanese citizens, whom Israel also hopes can live peacefully, will be able to live peacefully without Hezbollah being a factor in that area.
Are there any Israeli hostages who are still kept by Hamas? What is their current state? What do you feel?
So obviously, that one of the most horrific effects, or I don't know, one of the most, because all the effects were very horrific, was the kidnapping of over 200 civilians, whether it was Israeli, most of them Israeli, but also foreign citizens like Thai nationals and Nepalese and others. Some have been released. Some have been recovered. A lot of them have been recovered dead, unfortunately. There are still 101 hostages. Some we already know have been killed. Some we're hoping are still alive, and some we have no information about their current situation. But we know they've been treated horribly, and it's not a situation that I would hope anyone finds themselves in. Israel has to do everything it can and will do everything it can to make sure that these hostages come home. This is an objective of Israel, and the war will not stop until the hostages are safely in their homes.
How has the conflict impacted trade and tourism? Has it affected investments in Israel over the last 1 year, ma'am?
So obviously, it has an effect, especially on tourism. Tourists, due to this current situation, are not coming as much as they did before, although we do see support from people around the world who do still come and try and support Israel, very good Israel supporters who do come even at the hardest of times. And yes, the Israel tourism has suffered, but Israel has a history of rebuilding itself, and I have no doubt that once things have settled down, Even the tourism sector will revive, and people will come and see, re-witness the newest miracle of Israel reviving from this horrible war.
And what kind of collaboration is currently taking place between India and Israel in the field of technology and defense technology, especially?
So Israel and India are very good partners and have been very good allies since the establishment of relations in 1992 and the opening of the embassy in Delhi. There are collaborations going on in many different fields like agriculture, water, innovation, and we can see many different collaborations between the two countries. I know that in the visit of Prime Minister Modi in Israel a few years ago, some memorandums of understanding were signed, and the collaboration is taking off in many, many different aspects. And there are many different examples of this that can be witnessed throughout different universities and innovation hubs. And there's a lot to talk about there.
Israel is also facing some criticism from many circles about thousands of people being killed in Gaza and Lebanon. What is Israel's take on this?
So Israel again has Israel's issue is not with Lebanese people or Gazan people, innocent people. Israel has an issue with terrorists. Unfortunately, these terrorists embrace themselves and use their citizens as human shields. We hope very much that this will stop. We hope that the international community can also put pressure on these organizations or countries, sovereign countries like Lebanon and Iran, who mostly are the puppeteers of this, to stop this and to stop the usage of citizens as human shields. Once that's stopped, no citizens need to be hurt.
And has the conflict made the region more insecure? Has it caused little anxiety across the region or across the world?
The region has conflict for many years, and I think this is just an example of it and an eruption of it. And the reason that there's a conflict is the inability of Iran and its proxies to accept Israel's right to exist. I want to remind you, in 1948, there was a decision in the United Nations to divide the area between a Jewish nation and an Arab nation, and the Jewish nation accepted it, and the Arabs nation did not, and the Arabs around Israel did not, and attacked Israel. And since then, the conflict has been going on, where there have been, of course, some peace agreements with some of the countries around us, like Jordan and Egypt, and later with the Abraham Accords with the UAE and Bahrain. But some, mainly Iran, is not accepting Israel's right to exist. Until Iran accepts Israel's right to exist, until its proxies and its puppets stop acting in the name of Iran to try and destroy Israel, there will always be a problem in the region. The key to stopping this is Iran's acceptance of Israel's right to exist.
There have been some local incidents also around, like in Bangalore, there was an Indo-Israel business summit. There were some protests outside. So what is your take on these kind of protests which are happening?
I think a lot of people have good intentions but are misguided. Many of the people I meet, people who take time to understand the history of Israel, to understand the history of the conflict, and to realize that it's a much complicated situation, much too complicated to understand in one line that you read or just a slogan that you hear. These people I meet understand Israel's perspective and understand what Israel's going through. I think a lot of people are very well intentioned, and they think they want to do something for people who are suffering, and they're right. People are suffering. But they're not suffering because of Israel. They're suffering because organizations like Hamas, like Hezbollah, use these citizens as human shields. If people want to act in the best interests of Palestinian people or Lebanese people, they should put pressure on Hamas to eliminate an organization like Hamas and make sure that Palestinians are led by people and by a government that has the people's best interests at heart, and not have their main goal to destroy Israel and using their own people as human shields.